Hello, I'm Brigantia, Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Saturday, and welcome to this week's Loki video. We'll be talking about him as being the unexpected healer. Now, I say the unexpected healer, it's because we are all aware of what his reputation is. He is the one who makes the messes. He's the one who shakes things up. He's the one who whatever it was we did not want to say in public, well, he's the one who's going to definitely be saying it in public, and often, and loudly. That's that's very much how we have come to know him through mythology. However, even from the very beginning, I could see that he was interested in working with me in a more healing capacity as well. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that process because it's been going on steadily for the past couple of months. And I thought if anyone was just interested in him generally, might want to work with him at some point in the future, or if you find yourself called to work upon him, maybe this some of whatever I've experienced, maybe it'll apply to you, maybe not. Loki does seem to really tailor how he works with each and every individual, but I just thought I'd have it out there. It might be useful to someone, who knows. So why healing? Because that isn't generally his job as what we have come to know him as. However, I think that any deity who becomes fond of us, wants to work with us, I think they quickly become aware of, our own psychological limitations, where we have some deep-set wounds. And I think just as a matter of caring for us, even if they aren't necessarily, in charge of the healing arts, they want us to feel better. They want us to be better. They want us to not be held back by any of the baggage that we've been carrying throughout our entire lives. So when we think about, everyday kind of mundane sorts of healing, we realize that if we have a wound, we have a deep cut or something, well, one of the first things that needs to be done is that we need to clean out that wound. Now, if we don't clean out the wound, well, then, it scabs and it festers and we can get infections, then we could have a much worse and much more serious problem than what we had to begin with. And sometimes that's what we've done to ourselves on a more psychological level. We didn't clear out our wounds at the time of their occurrence. We just ignored them, and then an infection set in, and then we have all of these other problems that have been derived from that original wound. So in order to address that, essentially Loki's approach, at least with me, has been to open that wound, just wide open. Just get that and get all the the infection and the pus and the gunk, just get that all out in the open to see, and then clear it all off and then see what you're actually dealing with. One example of this would be is that apparently he has decided that I'm going to be working on some of my phobias. One of my phobias is snakes. I was never been comfortable with them. I did not have the healthiest introduction to snakes as a child. When I was little, my parents always said, avoid them because you can't always tell, especially when you're a kid, which ones are venomous and which ones are not. And so just exercise some caution. Well, the first time I encountered a snake, I was all of 6 years old, and it was a baby rattlesnake, and it came within an ace of biting me, which would have been very, very bad for everyone concerned. I might not be here now. Baby snakes, they do have a bit of an extra punch with their bites. So that just didn't exactly set me up for a good relationship with the little squiggles that exist in nature. And through the years, I've tried to desensitize myself a little bit, not always particularly successfully. And whenever I've joined nature groups on online settings, I found that more than anything else, people want to share pictures of snakes. And I'm like, there are such a thing as chipmunks and daffodils as well. But then there are, the people who are just like, snakes are the best thing ever. And everyone who doesn't share my passion for them, well, they just don't really love nature. And then you get away from the group and it's this annoying thing. And what I've really struggled with is trying to find an approach to where I can I can essentially not be having a rational fear of them, not be excessively afraid of them, to be able to tell the difference between which species are venomous, which ones are not, and to essentially moderate my reaction to them so I don't go completely schizoid anytime I happen to encounter one. But my own efforts have not been uniformly successful, and so Loki, of course, has taken things into his own hands. Since he began working with me, I've had an unusual number of dreams in which snakes have appeared. Sometimes very benign ones that were just kind of essentially around and minding their own business. Sometimes, there's one around and I try to avoid it, and then suddenly there's three, and then there's five, and there's just this exponential number of snakes, and I wake up, spazzing out. And then in some dreams, he seems to be going for the comic effect. I'll be having my dream, whatever's going on, and then there will be cobras that appear, but not cobras as you would find them in nature. These are hot pink, and they're whizzing around. They've got their hoods extended, and they're squiggling, down the street, and obviously on some sort of snake business, and they just look so absolutely ridiculous that I'm wondering, is he trying to is he trying to get me to see some sort of funny side of the species? I'm not sure. But one thing that I will notice is that he will not let things go. This is obviously something I'm going to be working on for a while, for me to have at least some kind of rational reaction to snakes. It's not going to get better overnight. And I don't think, at least I haven't gotten the impression from Loki that he wants me to suddenly become a snake enthusiast. and start a new career and become a zoologist, and have snakes be my special field of study. I'm not getting that vibe from him. I think he just wants me to not be quite so spastic about it. And I think he's going the desensitization route. I think he's just giving me little pushes, and he just doesn't quite let it go. And that's something that I think you have to be prepared for when you're working with Loki in general. He's not someone who lets things go. I don't think, let's see, how can I put this? What I've been learning from him is that things are never really settled until they're settled right. He's not one for pretenses. He's not one for sweeping things underneath the rug. He's not for ignoring the elephant in the room, as we can tell from the lore. Sometimes he will not only point out the elephant, but tell you all about your specific history with that elephant in front of everyone. So he isn't someone who says that we should hide. That we shouldn't hide from our past deeds, we shouldn't hide from our past wounds, we shouldn't hide away from the things that we are afraid of. And so that definitely shows in his approach. He definitely will not let you wiggle your way out of it. However, at the same time, he never pushes me too far. He can definitely tell when I have had enough, and when I just, when that will do for the present, and I need a little bit of a break, because he doesn't he doesn't harp on this one particular issue all the time. It's just every so often. Sometimes if I haven't been quick enough to attend to other issues that he's wanting me to deal with, that's when I'll start getting a little bit more snake dreams. Like, well, so you didn't want to work on that. Well, maybe we can work on one of your phobias instead. Won't that be fun? Won't that be fun? And so it definitely pays to be cooperative, because one way or the other, you are going to be dealing with things that he considers to be a priority. And it's not just healing from psychological phobias like I have to snakes, other people might have to spiders, or others to clowns, or whatever else that people might have an irrational fear of. But he also is very keen on people confronting their trauma. Now, I did a lot of that when I was going through a recent workshop that we did at Blackbird's Brew, doing a lot of chakra work, kind of getting the junk worked out of my system, at least a little bit more than what it was before. And since then, I've been doing some shadow work, especially with guided meditations. And I think this is where Loki has been most successful in helping me make some progress. It's because I've been able to look at some things, especially issues that relate to past traumas. With Jehovah's Witness upbringing, with essentially having to walk away from everyone and everything I ever knew in order to have some freedom and some semblance of normal life. And including the way that sometimes current events, with as controlling as everything is getting, and with, relationships in constant uproar, just within society in general, I think he's helping me see how all these things do relate back to, earlier spots of sensitivities, very deep-rooted stuff. And I'm finding that I'm able to look at this and see it in context, and see, I don't want to say dispassionately, because that's not really it, because I feel more emotionally integrated than what I was before, but he's helping me see it in greater perspective. And also from the standpoint of, look, you survived. You overcame. You've made all this progress. You've been able to forge a life. You are, you know, being proactive in your life when you were just passive before. This is good. This is what should be giving you confidence. You shouldn't be, in fear, wondering, oh, what am I going to lose next? What's going to be taken away from me? Can I not trust the people around me? Because whether I can or not, whether I'll lose something or someone or not, the reality is that either way, I'm going to survive. I'm going to make it. I'm going to learn. I'm going to take from my past experiences. I'm going to continue that healing process because I've done this before. And I think that is very, very confidence building of realizing that, it's either way. It's not that, if you lose a friendship or you lose a relationship or anything else goes wrong in your life, it's not like those things are okay or they don't matter or that you weren't emotionally invested. But it is a little bit easier not to get completely overwhelmed by the experience and realize, these things happen. I can't change the fact that it happened at this point, but I can move forward from it. I don't have to carry this on my back, for the next 50 years. I mean, fancy being 90 and carrying around, bad experiences, from your 40s or your 30s, 20s, or even your childhood. I don't think that's a recipe for a happy old age. And, I would, by the time I'm 90, I would like to be, more content and to be a happier person in general and to be a little bit more above the fray in the sense of, other people can't use my emotions to prey on me. My emotions are what they are. They react the way that they do, but I'm not at the mercy of the rest of the world. If I'm going to be miserable and upset, it's because I decided, not because someone else, was poking on a trigger point and caused me to react more strongly than what I ordinarily would have. And that has been, I think this has absolutely been the most successful aspect of our healing work together to date. Now, for other people, it might be easier to conquer the phobia about the snakes rather than dealing with past emotional traumas. But either way, what I have found is that Loki is a very good working partner in this regard. He's a very good guide. He's very reassuring, and he's very good at making it clear that, the emotions that you had in the past, whether it was fear or loneliness or anger or whatever it was that just really threw you for a loop, those emotions belong at that point of time. They're not what's going on here. And so you can look at them. You can examine them. You can analyze them in a way that you just couldn't before because you see that there is a period of separation. And what's more, he is there to support you. And it doesn't even have to be big major support. It's not so much that he necessarily says a whole lot when we're in these deep meditations together. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. A lot of times it's letting me walk my way through these things and just knowing that he's right there and that I don't have to walk through the scary stuff all by myself. I'm not alone. And sometimes when we are working on our healing ourselves, that's all we really need, simply to know that our gods are still walking with us. They have not abandoned us. They care what happened to us, and they are invested in us getting better. And the more proactive we are towards that end, the more we don't let ourselves be held back by our past and we actually do the work and try to get to a better place, the more they are more likely to lend a helping hand because we are doing our part of it. We're not expecting them to do all the work because that's not their role. Even if you were working with a god or a goddess who was primarily focused on healing, I don't think that the gods are all that much on people being passive. And we have a very passive society, so it does take a lot to overcome that. So by doing our part, by acting in good faith, I think that goes a lot towards getting more help from the gods than what we ordinarily would have gotten if we'd just tried to leave it to them. So that has been kind of the update. That's essentially where I'm at. If you have been finding yourself being approached by Loki or you're getting kind of curious about working with him, I hope this is somewhat reassuring for you to realize that he isn't just this wild, unstoppable force, although he can be. And even if he is, harping on something for you, it isn't being done in a mean-spirited way. It's not about breaking you down or dragging you down. It is about helping you lift yourself up. It's about making you confront what you need to confront so you can move forward with it. So you can, have something in the past and, clean that slate and go on to bigger and better things. And if you can see it in that light, then maybe Loki might be a deity that would be good for you to work with. But either way, I hope it's been interesting. Next week we'll have probably another Loki video. Who knows what sort of topic. These tend to come to me a couple of days ahead of time about what he'd like me to discuss. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens next. So that's it for now. If you'd like to discuss it further, please come to visit me at Blackbird's Brew. There's a link to join in the description box below. And of course, subscribe to this channel, leave a like, leave a comment. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.